We're very honored and grateful to have with us His Grace Nimaisundar Prabhu. Many of you might have seen him before. He has facilitated Srimad Bhagavatam classes at our temple. A little bit of background about Nimaisundar Prabhu. He's been practicing Krishna consciousness for over 20 years. He was introduced to the path of bhakti back in Mumbai, India, and currently he resides in Toronto. Prior to that, he was living in the US, traveling extensively, but over the last 7 to 8 years, he settled down here in Toronto, along with his family, Brajmanjari Mataji and 2 kids. And Prabhu is involved in a lot of services. Some of them include outreach, youth programs, counseling and guiding some of the younger devotee couples, as well as deity department, serving the beloved deities. Prabhu is also professionally a VP for one of the top insurtech companies in the US, and he extensively travels around the world within US, Canada, and so many other places. We're really happy that he's taken time out today to give and facilitate the Sunday Feast class. The topic for today, being the month of Prabhupada Marathon, is going to be Books Are the Basics, and Nimaisundar Prabhu will speak for about 25 to 30 minutes. So without further ado, please join me in giving a warm round of applause to Nimaisundar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Introduction is a funny thing, right? Takes over 5 minutes from the discourse. Can everybody hear me okay? Back there? Hare Krishna. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Everybody's tired before the discourse. Okay, so we are assembled here to discuss very, very important topic, and perhaps if I were to say to discuss the best miracle of the century, okay, we're going to talk about the books. So, how many of us were here for the Aarti? Wasn't it wonderful? When devotees were doing Kirtan, so big round of applause for all the Kirtan here. So they said that Harinam Sankirtan, when we all come together and chant the holy names, it gives a lot of inspiration. And then after doing a lot of dancing, we get tired and we want to honor our prasad, which will be served very shortly. So when we honor prasad, it gives a lot of satisfaction. Once you have that inspiration, once you are satisfied, then you need a little bit of conviction to continue beyond that. And that is presented to us by books. And hence it is said that books are the basis. Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, is seated here. He actually made this statement on 20th January 1972 in his letter to his disciple Mandali Bhadradas, saying that books are the basis. We have to focus and make sure that we get to touch the books, open them, read them, distribute them, donate them, and try to purify our existence. So it is very, very essential that I seek your kind attention for next 20 odd minutes as we discuss the glories of these books and how it is going to make our foundation so solid that we can repeatedly get inspired by doing the Harinam and get satisfied by honoring Prasadam, but continue for a longer time tangibly by contributing in the mission of Srila Prabhupada by reading and distributing his books. So why books? Question arises, right? We are in the technology age. Unfortunately, the attention span of humans are going below even the goldfish. I heard about it in one of the Microsoft surveys. that our attention span has come down to mere 8 seconds. And then what happens? A left swipe. So in that day and age, one may ask that, oh, Prabhuji, why are you talking about books? We don't have patience, And that is the reason we are talking about books. So why do books form the foundation? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu explains that Shruti Smriti Puranati Pancharatrik Vidim Vinat Aikantiki Hare Bhakti Utpate Vahi Kalpate. So traditionally the Vedas, the Shrutis, are the 4 Vedas. We all have heard of 4 Vedas? Yes? Okay. What are the names quickly? Children? Anyone? Rig Veda? Samaveda? Yajurveda? Atharvaveda. Fantastic. Give it up for the kids. So these 4 Vedas, they come from Shruti. So that means traditionally it was just spoken about, heard, and people moved about in different yugas just by remembering everything. I wonder how many of us have access to even those manuscripts in this day and age, right? And then there is Smriti, and then there is Puranas and Upanishads and so on. But Srila Prabhupada actually made it very simple for us, because in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the very first canto, first chapter, 10th verse, it is explained. It talks unfortunately about all of us. And I don't have a breaking news to share here. It's very depressing, actually speaking, to talk about that verse, because it says, Mandus Manda Mandayo Mandavagya Upaditaha. So it says that people living in the Kali Yuga are very, I'm sorry to say, it says very dull-headed. Unfortunately, we can't remember what we were potentially wearing 10 days back. What to talk about, what we would have heard in the last Sunday feast lecture, or what one of the chapters of Bhagavatam speaks about. Very lofty. So hence Srila Prabhupada said that books are the basis, because unless you have the books, you may be excited today, because there's nice kirtan happening, there's nice prasadam, and then if one of the Sundays, if we were to serve khichdi, maybe some of you may get depressed, say, no, come on, no fun. Right? So how do we make sure that we are consistently able to continue through the ups and downs of life? I'm going to ask you 5 questions, okay? Let's be very honest. We'll be in the temple, at least one place where we don't speak lies. I assume so. So by show of hands, and you can keep your eyes shut if you are shy, but be very honest. By show of your hands, how many of us are experiencing a lot of frustration and stress in life at the current moment? As in not right now, but in the ongoing time. Of course, in the temple right now, nobody's stressed out. Right? Yeah. Very nice. Don't be shy. No need to do this. That level of stress is same as this level of stress. Alright. So that's first. It's good to see that a lot are not stressed out, so that's fantastic. Let's see how do we do the next one. How many of us, how many of us have had some or the other point in time in our lives, relationship issues? Husband and a wife, sister-in-law and mother-in-law. Suddenly there are more hands are coming up. Friends. Okay? Come on. Alright. I think it's increasing for some reason. Next one is my personal favorite. I have both my hands up. I feel that I'm a good person, but somehow or other, bad things keep happening to me. Like a punching bag. Not bothering anybody, but somebody out there keeps coming and hitting on me. Huh? How many? Alright, excellent. Okay, people from the balcony are getting involved now, so that's good to see. Okay, next is a little bit intellectual. And I expect at least some of us will be, because we are seated here. Did we ever have this question that who really is God? Very few, yeah, because a lot of us come from that background where we are taught about Krishna, Ram, Hanuman, Narasimha from pretty early age. So at least there are still a few. And then, important one, important one. Besides our names and how we look and how our images are perceived in the material world, have you ever thought about who exactly am I? Where am I coming from and where am I going to go? We all are going to die at some day. So after death, what happens? Have you ever thought about it? Anybody? Okay, that's surprisingly quite a few. Ah, come on. Thank you for encouraging me, children. All right, so you all remember the 5 questions I asked. Anybody with hands up and all? Anybody with all category? Thank you for being very honest. Prabhus. Okay, people are shy, still opening up slowly. So this all category is very important. I seek your very kind attention. And doesn't matter if you didn't have all, even if you had one, please pay close attention to next 10 minutes because it may actually change your life. Now, if we had that question, did we ever think that why would we have such a question? Why is perhaps a pet dog not having such a question? Or when we go to the zoo and watch let's say a tiger maybe, they don't care much for these questions. So why? What is so different?
Because the anxiety about the future.
Anxiety about the future, very good. What else? We have mind, fantastic. We got something here. The grey matter, we got brains, again I suppose. So, the scriptures very cleanly explain that why do people like us seated in this room think? It says, Ahara nidra bhayamaithunam cha samanyametat pashubir naranam dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho dharme nahi naha pashubir samanam. She said it's the difference between human being and other species, other lower species potentially, animals, is that all the categories do 4 things. Ahara, everybody eats. Nidra, everybody sleeps. Bhaya, everybody's fearful. Nicely said, fearful about the future, about what will happen, who's going to attack me, oh, I'm lonely in the forest, somebody's going to come eat me, somebody's going to come bite me. Continuously fearful and defensive of things. And Maithunamcha, you want to procreate. So everybody does that. What is the difference? The difference is this. We for once have been blessed with this intellect, with the intelligence. And how would we use intelligence? The scholars say the best way to use intelligence is by reading books. Not any books. In this context, we're going to talk about Srila Prabhupada's books. So, how exactly do we understand this and why are we talking about it? So when we talk about any books, have you thought about it? And I have fantastic books here, okay? We're going to talk about this. And you pick from which one should we talk about in the next few minutes. I have a war book, which is called as Bhagavad Gita. And I have a love book, which is called as Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay? Both are fantastic books. The war book is basically a manual. Why? Because most of us keep feeling that we are on a battlefield every morning we wake up. We're already late to drop kids. Some of us relate to that. You see some familiar nods here. And before we are done, we have to run for the office. The Teams, the Zooms, all the calls are on in the car already. We're on a battlefield constantly. And then these lingering questions in the back of the mind. What exactly is going on? Why am I even doing all this? Right? How should I live? So all that is answered in this book. This is, I call it a war book, Bhagavad Gita. And then once we kind of clear this phase up to a certain extent and get appreciation for Krishna, then this book teaches us how to love Krishna. And that's why I call it a love book, Srimad Bhagavatam. So, okay, how many for the war book? Okay. How many for the love book? More people need love, huh? So it's not that we're just going to talk about this, okay? After the discourse, you all have to buy one copy as well from our team here. So, With regards to the book, there are 4 pillars of any book. 1, the writer. 2nd, the reader. 3rd, the distributor. And 4th, the donor. So we start with the writer. These books are written with extreme love and dedication and with a lot of painstaking abilities. Srila Prabhupada has written these books. And if we do not know, please allow me to speak for a couple minutes on this topic, because it's very important. In our movement in Iskcon, in our overall sampradaya, we come from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's a collective effort of last 500 years, or 500 odd years, when Mahaprabhu came and then all his associates came, and then a whole disciplic succession. Guru Shishya Parampara, there's a teacher, there's a student, then there's a teacher, there's a student, there's a teacher, there's a student, very simplistically put together. They all came together, they worked hard, they dreamed, they perspired, they put their blood, life and soul in praying that who will come and write all these commentaries and make it available to the ordinary masses of the world. And then came Srila Prabhupada. Now Srila Prabhupada was about 70 years old. 70 years. Let's pay some attention here. 70 years. Most of us can't understand what it means because we are yet not 70. My very dear spiritual teacher, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, was once asking a bunch of devotees that, do you understand what is the contribution of Srila Prabhupada? And then everybody said, yeah, he wrote books and he did this and he opened 108 temples and he did communities and this and that. And he said, none of you will ever understand until and unless you actually become 70. When you break your back, when you get 3 heart attacks over a cargo ship going from Indian subcontinents to Boston, all those things are not easy. These days we just book an air ticket on the phone, Uber our way to the airport, board the flight, land, very easy. This gentleman at the age of 70, he took all the pain. And when he was coming here, he went to a particular place called Shantipur, the place of peace, where he had only 3 copies, first 3 volumes rather, of this book, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Pujari there, the priest, he said, you're an old man, you're a happy devotee, just stay here, do your bhajans, why are you doing all this? Why are you going? And he very carefully replied, he said, you know what, I am not going. I'm not going to America. Srimad Bhagavatam is going to America. And I'm just assisting them. I'm just assisting Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad needs to go and help each and every human being understand why they are living and what should they be ideally doing and how should they be doing. She was very honest about it. And then when he came here, think about it, 70-plus-year-old establishing an international movement with no media, with difficult times to collaborate and communicate. Entire day he's spending trying to open up temples, trying to make devotees, give classes, do Harinam, teach everybody how to worship, teach everybody how to behave, teach everybody how to dress, how to talk, everything. And then in the night, just think about it for one peaceful minute, my friends. In the night when everybody's sleeping, you would pray that Krishna, please give me just an hour or 2 sleep and wake me up at midnight. And then he would get rest and he would start writing these books in dictaphone. Do you all know what is a dictaphone? It's a device, it's a small electronic device where you click a button, you speak few words and you pause. Done. There is no control Z in it. You can't erase and say, oh, I didn't like it, throw and come back and write. He got one chance to put all his, what Srila Prabhupada says to be, all his spiritual ecstasies are embedded. And the only expectation he has is that we touch them, we open them, and we read, and then we share that knowledge with others. So it's very important. Once devotees were going out for book distribution, and one of the Srila Prabhupada disciples had this bigger pile. So you know how devotees try to maximize, right? So he had books going from here to here like this. Srila Prabhupada stopped him and he pulled one book out and said, "What is this?" So he was taken aback, right? And he said, "Srila Prabhupada, I have not read actually. I'm here just to distribute." And Srila Prabhupada became very grave. He said, "These are not just other products that are sold. Had it been this time, we would have perhaps said on Amazon. These are not just ordinary products." So Srila Prabhupada became very grave. And he said, "I have written these books for my disciples to read first. Read, implement, and then distribute. Then only it will have impact." And then of course, that devotee took it up very seriously. So we come to, from writing, we come to reading. And as they say, leaders are the readers. Unless you read, you're never going to gain any knowledge. And unless you have knowledge, you will not be able to uplift your consciousness to deal with situations. Bhagavad Gita in particular gives you 3 flavors of intellect. It gives you a political sense or intellect where you can differentiate and distinguish between what is right, what is wrong, what is dharma, what is adharma, and you can make a decision. It also gives you a lot of emotional quotient and helps you understand that, okay, is this fair versus not fair, or is this just versus unjust, versus is this too much emotion versus no emotion. And then most importantly, as they say in Vedantas also, right, one eye, two eye, and then the third eye, there's a third eye here. So the third flavor is of the wisdom. It actually helps elevate your consciousness that you are able to deal with everything. You will be surprised if you take this up, start reading one page at a time, one verse at a time, you will certainly feel a difference here, that your intellect gets very sharpened and you are able to operate things. So once there was a lady, and she was a PhD in atheism. Now you can imagine it's a very interesting subject matter to be specialist on. So anyway, she was somehow or other she got Bhagavad Gita, and she said, "Oh, this is not applicable for me," and so on and so forth. But somebody, some kind soul insisted. So she said, "All right, I'll open it." So she opened the book. And she looked at this picture, where there are armies of people fighting. It's a scene from Mahabharata. Kauravas and Pandavas, they're fighting together. So she's like, no different, just like any other book full of conflicts. She's like, okay, let me turn a page. And then she started reading. And she found it very different, very interesting, because the whole construct is different, right? There's a verse, there's a broken word-by-word translation, word-by-word commentaries. So she flipped through. And she was, as you could say, she's a PhD, so naturally she's an intellectual woman. She went through on one sitting, she read 3 chapters of Gita. And at the end of 3rd chapter, she had tears in her eyes. And she did something which actually shook many people. She took her thesis in one hand, she took light in other hand, and burned her thesis and put it in the trash. Same sitting, after doing that, she finished reading entire Bhagavad Gita, and she actually became a full-time devotee in Delhi, New Delhi in India. So that's the power of reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So that brings us to the next point. Remember, the first was write, second was read, third was distribute. It's very essential. If you have something very valuable, how do you care for the world? By distributing it, right? Imagine there's a huge, gigantic cake baked with a lot of love. How much can you eat for yourself? A sober, gentle human would like to distribute things, right? I mean, you can't be so selfish that, okay, let me cut it and nicely arrange so the next 22 days I have got to eat. That'll be just insane. So if you have something nice, you would like to distribute it. So obviously books are the best thing you can actually distribute. Why? Because a book, I just recently heard from one of my dear friends, he said, he's an author himself, he said, a book lasts for 100+ years. So almost at a given point in time, 4 different generations can get benefited. Imagine you gifted a watch or a phone or something. Yeah, sure, all that is needed in life. But then do something more meaningful. So once it is such a, if I were to say, it's such a filmy story that I have to share. Okay? Once there was a gentleman who was extremely depressed. He had a broken relationship, he had nothing to look forward to, he didn't have a job, he was like, I just want to die. So he makes a plan, and then he says, oh, but I don't want it to be too painful a death. So then he says, okay, and then he did his Google, what is the least painful way to die? And then he came up with this idea that if I get choked on carbon monoxide, it'll be easy. So he went to his car, locked down everything, opened the CO pipe, and then he was getting bored. He's like, this is very slow. And while he was thinking that, okay, I'll soon get choked, there was a knock on the window. And guess what? Somebody from Radhamohan Prabhu's team, the Sankirtan people. We have Mother Gopinath Prabhu here. He does all these kinds of things. Give it up for him. Haribo! So, as much painstakingly Srila Prabhupada has written those books, their teams actually do the very, very kind and compassionate job in service of distributing those books. It's not easy. We all drove in, a little bit of drizzle, a little bit of cold, and we are so discomforted. Imagine these people. Besides their day-to-day lives, they're standing on the road, happily distributing something. Look, you got to be happy, right? Even if I have best of cakes, but I'm very angry and sad. I'm like, oh, do you want cake? Would you ever buy that from me now? So if I'm giving books, you have to be happy. And look, aren't they happy here? So, just like that, there was a knock and a devotee appeared saying, I have Bhagavad Gita for you, would you like it? And he was like, I'm about to die, what do I care for books? But hey, I'm getting bored because this pipe is pretty slow. So let me take a book. And he said, how much? He said, $X. And he said, okay, take more, keep the change, I'm dying anyways, take it. Thank you. And he started reading. He started reading a little bit. And the intensity was increasing. So a point in time came when he was right in the middle of the bridge. He had to make a determination. Should I go left or right? Should I continue to die? Or do I have a chance? Because when he started reading Bhagavad Gita, he realized the real purpose of life. She quickly shut it down, came out, and actually became a brahmachari, full-timer in his one. Shiva Prabhupada ki. So a couple more stories as we end, and I think the presentation can be ready, made ready in the meanwhile. So back in Soviet Union time, which is current Russia, it wasn't easy, right? It wasn't allowed, book distribution wasn't allowed and so on. Somehow the devotees slid in some copies, and they found a scientist and they presented the whole lot of copies, and you know how scientists are, right? They want to just keep having and keep reading. So then he took and kept it. And soon he realized that he's being followed. He's being followed by KGBs. And he didn't realize, he is like, I'm a recognized scientist, I haven't done anything wrong, why should I be followed? Then he tried backtracking, and he said, since the time this devotee gave me all these books, I'm being tracked. So, he figured things out, and then he actually thought that why should I be tracked? So he said, let me see what is there in this book. And he started reading, and then he started studying, and then he started scrutinizing and studying. And he is our current days, His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Swami Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada ki. So once there was a person, and I was there with a friend of mine, Panchapandav. He was doing book distribution, and he met a little bit drunk kind of a person. He said, here's a Gita for you. He's like, you people keep selling Gita all the time, dance on the street, you're not doing anything good. Why are you selling Gita? Krishna spoke Gita in Kurukshetra to Arjuna for free. Why should I pay you? Why should I pay you 250 rupees? So he said, Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna for free in Kurukshetra. This is just the printing and transportation charge. Please take it. And he took it. So if we are able to actually take these books, in conclusion, just as a loving expression. If you love somebody, you would say, I love you, right? You would take a flower, you would give something. So when we want to say, I love you, Srila Prabhupada, the best way to express that love is by reading his books. And once you start, you will feel better that, okay, I want to share it with others. So then you speak with our Sankirtan team here and see if you want to get involved in distributing these books. And if all that sounds a little bit too stretchy, then the best way to do is just do donation. There's something called as a Gita Dan, where you feel for the world but you are not able to contribute, right? Like how when you watch some news, you get agitated. Oh no, this is not right, this is not wrong, this is wrong. I want to do something, but what do you do? Most times you don't do anything. You just, let the day go and then next morning you watch another news. But when it comes to Gita, when you feel for other living souls, the best way to do that is do the donation, the last pillar, where you are able to, in a very structured way, without getting cheated, but getting fulfilled in your hearts, you will be able to distribute. And that, I think, our Sankirtan team will explain. So with that, I will conclude that, again, Harinam Sankirtan gives us inspiration, Sadhana gives us satisfaction, and the books will give us, who remembers the key word? Conviction to continue in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Marathon Book Distribution ki jai. Thy Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So as Nimaisundar Prabhu mentioned, books are the basis. Books are something, knowledge is something that distinguishes us from lower form